Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of Kate and Leopold.
I watched the second half of Kate and Leopold.
And this
is the other half.
We're back to the olden times. The olden times are about where pirates ruled the land.
The olden days of the early 2000s, late 90s?
Early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, is that when this movie came out?
I believe so. Actually, I didn't look it up because the main
Those are the olden days.
Those are the olden days. We're talking more about the 1800s.
No, the old days.
Oh, yes, sorry. It's 1876.
Okay. When did Kate and Leopold come out? 2001. So early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Old.
Old New York.
So old.
It's wild how all these movies take place in New York, and it's like, man,
I know.
It's just gonna go down there in a bit.
It's crazy.
Shit's gonna go down there in a bit.
I love it. I love this time in New York where like the towers are still there.
And there's tons, and it's crime.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, New York's got so much crime, and there's stuff stolen.
It's romantic.
It's romantic.
Yeah. Giuliani's a hero for everyone.
Not yet, but he will be soon.
He will be soon.
He'll be very soon. Yeah. So this is an interesting movie. I did not really know I've heard the name of this movie many times. Didn't really know the premise.
I knew the premise, but I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah, I didn't know either. So the movie starts out in olden times. In 1876, you got like the Industrial Revolution going on,
Right.
you know? People are like, fuck the monarchy.
Hell yeah.
Fuck the monarchy. It's all about capitalism now.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh. Well, they're all about like inventors.
Oh,
and people
I see.
like making things and erecting things, having a good old
Erecting.
time. Making lots of erections all around the world.
Right.
Is the big joke.
Big tall, pointy things.
Big, tall, pointy things. Big, tall, anything. Erecting things was just cool back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so this is a movie about a time traveler in a way. Mm-hmm. He's not really like, he's not known as a time traveler. He just happens to be teleported to
There's a
the
hole
future.
in time.
There's a portal.
Yes.
A portal in time that brings handsome old Hugh Jackman, a.k.a. His full name
Leopold.
is Leopold Alexis Elijah Walker Thomas Gareth Mountbatten is his full name.
Okay.
It is a one joke because people back then had very long names, I guess. And he's back and he's here to experience real world and find love, I guess. Even though he's trying to find
With
love
a modern woman.
with a modern woman, a working woman,
That's right.
with her feminine mind, as he calls it. Sometimes.
I was wondering how much of this movie was going to deal with that.
There's also that, and I'm like, slavery was still around.
Yeah, wait a second.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people of color in this movie now that you mention it.
There's one kid, and he's just like,
Not in my half.
oh, okay. Wait, no, slavery's not in 1876. Oh, fuck, I don't know. Racism
Definitely wasn't great.
Racism was still really bad then.
Yeah, it definitely
It was
wasn't
still really
great.
bad.
Yeah.
Especially for the rich people, which is he's a duke. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like,
But he's not rich. Well, he's
Not?
rich, kind of rich. Yeah, apparently his parents died. And due to investments, I guess his family doesn't have a lot of money. And so that's why he needs to get married to a rich family. His uncle, Otis?
Oh, slavery ended 10 years before that.
Yeah, but people still
Oh,
didn't.
yeah, people were still like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Still wasn't great. But yeah, so that's the premise, is like he needs to get married because his family, his uncle doesn't have a lot of money.
Okay, interesting. So that's why he keeps going up to rich people. So the movie starts off. I'm just gonna get right into the plot. Because I feel like it'll unfold conversation topics as we talk about what happens.
Of course.
We got this old like industrial revolution, and it shows like
They're erecting things.
well, that's the thing is like you see they're building, I believe, the Brooklyn Bridge, and it says that like Hugh Jackman's watching them build the bridge. He's drawing a picture of the bridge, and the German engineer is talking about it. He's basically saying like,
testify to the Egyptians, so my glorious erection shall represent our culture in perpetuity. Behold, rising before you, the greatest erection on the continent, the greatest erection of the age, the greatest erection on the planet.
Okay.
and one guy in the back, he's like laughing. Only one person's laughing though.
Why?
Only one person's laughing, and then he pulls out a little teeny tiny camera and takes a
Oh.
photo. And Hugh Jackman notices this, Leopold, and is like, what is this guy?
Who is that guy?
It's Liev Schreiber,
Yes.
which love that guy.
Right. Well, okay, so we've got Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, Meg Ryan,
Well, Hugh Jackman, who played Wolverine, and Liev Schreiber, who played...
Sabertooth. Oh,
Sabertooth.
shit, I forgot he played Sabertooth.
Yep.
That's pretty funny.
Yep.
But his name's...
And did you see who directed the movie?
Oh, man. Yeah, no, James... Is it James Mangold?
Yeah. The guy who did Logan.
Yeah, he did Logan.
Yeah.
He did we watched movies recently, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. He did the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, he did the new Indiana Jones movie. He has such a...
Ford v Ferrari.
The weirdest...
But it's weird that, like, he made this movie with fucking, like, Hugh Jackman years ago.
Yeah.
And then was like, hey, Hugh.
Well, I mean, he did The Greatest Showman.
Wait, he did?
He's executive producer on The Greatest Showman.
Oh, okay.
And he also executive produced Zoo, that TV show.
Well, that really terrible TV show we tried watching and no one wanted to watch with us.
Just you and me, buddy.
310
to Yuma. He did Walk the Line.
Directed it?
Yeah, he's the director of Walk the Line.
Wow.
Girl Interrupted.
Wow.
Well, it's funny because he did the Wolverine as well.
Right.
It was actually no, that was the good one that people seem to kind of like. And then he did Logan, right?
You're right.
It's such a weird
career
of just different movies, but one common thread: Hugh Jackman.
Exactly.
Jackman
Must
in
be a
this.
good friend of his.
Yeah, one of his biggest legacies.
Yes.
But yeah, so Liev Schreiber's there.
Yeah.
And he's, he sees Hugh Jackman coming forward. And he's like, runs away, gets out his closet, and goes, "Roar!" No, he runs away in his little outfit and gets in a carriage and rides. And then, so he's kind of confused by that. Leopold goes home. I'm going to call him Leopold from now on, because this is the name of the movie.
Of course.
He goes home.
Because he's transformed. He's not doing an American accent.
No.
He's not doing an Australian accent, which I
No.
believe where he's from.
Yeah.
Now he's doing a British accent.
Doing a British accent.
Leopold.
He's in it, which confused me. I was like, wait, where are they? Like, they're in America still. They're just, it's just fresh America.
Fresh America.
Fresh America. Fresh-ish America.
Yeah.
So then, he goes home. His dad's talking to him about, he's like, this fucking device you're making to get a priest into a bell tower, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you building this thing? He's like, it's just something I'm working on.
It's an elevator.
It's an elevator.
Yeah.
He's starting to work on an elevator.
Who is making the elevator?
Leopold.
Leopold's making the elevator.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Leopold is, in history books, according to this movie, I did not look this up to verify.
I'm gonna look this up.
Looked it up to verify. He's the inventor of the elevator.
Who invented
Yeah,
the
so he invented the elevator. He wants to like work on making things and doing things, but his dad's all about like, you need to get yourself a wife, dude. That's
Right.
what really matters. He's like, I need you to feel something. It's more important than all this stuff. It's about finding love. You're born into privilege, but you seem ashamed by it. And Leopold says, listen, kings are dead. It's all about inventors now, like Edison. and then his dad retorts, these men have made something out of coming from nothing, and you've come from everything and have made nothing.
Ooh.
I'm like, damn, got him. But also, he's also like in the process of making.
He's
something,
trying
so give him a
to.
second. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But he's like,
How old is he supposed to be in the movie too?
He's
Like,
got to be like late 20s, early 30s.
I think so. Yeah.
So he's got time to make. Well, I guess back in the day,
back in the day,
you're gonna
no.
die soon.
Exactly.
So I guess that's true.
So I looked it up. A man named Leopold did not create the elevator.
Damn.
It's actually listed under one of the goofs for this movie on IMDb.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Who cares?
It's a fucking fantasy
Yeah.
movie. It's fine. So he goes down to the ball, which I guess is a party happening downstairs, and he's introduced to this person named Miss Tree.
Did you recognize her?
Christian Shaw's
Yes.
there as like a little baby?
Yes.
That's so wild.
It's so crazy.
I did not expect to see her in this movie at all.
Me.
but
Well, she shows up in my half of the movie. I'm like, wait, Kristen Shaw's in the movie? Does she talk in your half?
a little bit, but most
She doesn't talk in my half of the movie at all.
Oh, really? That's wild.
Is she doing like an accent?
I can't remember. It
Oh
was
my
so
god,
short.
Ethan, you're useless.
She says like, "Oh wow." I don't think she does have an accent.
Oh,
I think she's
okay.
just doing an American accent. But
Hello, I'm Kristen Shaw.
it's pretty accurate.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Thank you very much.
He's
I'm Louise from Bob's Burgers.
wow.
Right? It's like you're sitting right next
I
to
was
her.
sitting right next to her, right there. But she mentions that she's never been to
I'm
England.
Mrs. Tree.
I shouldn't have encouraged you.
I know.
It says her dad's teeth were made in England though, so she's rich, but not that rich. She's never been to England.
She's apparently the richest woman here. Her family's richest.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But she's never traveled much. But then Leopold spots the man with a little camera hanging out in his house taking photos. He
Yeah.
goes and fucking confronts him, and the man is looking at all these contraptions, and he's saying like, "Hello, sir. these are all dreams, but they're all useless. Don't worry about them. And the man is like, oh shit. And he escapes in a carriage. And Leopold's like, fuck this party. I got to go chase him now. So he gets on a horse. They ride to the in construction Brooklyn Bridge. And, he starts climbing it. And he gets to the top. And Hugh Jackman's about ready to get him. And Leopold looks at him and grabs him and is like, don't fall. And he's like, no, it's okay. Let me fall. He has like goggles on. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, just let me go. Let me fall. And he pulls out pepper spray and sprays Leopold. And they both fall down into the water. And we cut to
the future.
A modern movie.
Present.
A modern romantic movie being played on the screen.
What's the movie?
Unknown. It doesn't matter because it's being done.
You don't recognize it.
No, it doesn't exist.
Oh, okay.
It's not a real movie, Mike. I looked it up and I checked.
Oh, okay.
I made sure because I knew you were going to ask
did your
this
due
fucking
diligence.
question. You're going to say, what movie is it? If there's a movie in a movie, Mike needs to know what movie
I need to know
it
what
is.
the movie is, yeah.
It is a fake movie. It is a fake rom-com, and everyone's watching and judging it. It's an audience test screening. And Meg Ryan is there as Kate, watching and looking. And she goes outside, makes a phone call, and comes back after the movie's over. And people are there, including Darcy.
Oh, yes.
Who
is played by...
Natasha Lyonne.
Yes, that's right.
Which unrecognizable.
I know.
To me. She acting completely different. I think she's doing like a different voice.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have this voice.
Doesn't have the raspy voice.
Yeah.
This is my Natasha Lyonne. Hey, I'm Kristen Shaw. I'm Natasha Lyonne. I'm in Bosworth. I'm in Poker Face.
I'm Wolverine. Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Hello. I'm Kristen Shaw. I like to say my name a lot. I'm Natasha Lyonne.
What's up, Bubs? How's it going? I'm Sabertooth. Hey, I'm Sabertooth. What's going on over here?
This is what you come to the podcast for. That's right.
No one expected Kate and Leopold to be impressions in Leopold.
Exactly.
But here we are. So Kate comes back. The test screen's over. They're handing out the pamphlets. And
What is Darcy's job?
Darcy's like just kind of her assistant.
Yes.
Really. Is that a quiz?
Just wondering.
Because you just said yes.
I just wanted to make sure everyone knew.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's there.
Because she's not just like her friend.
No.
She's her subordinate.
She's working.
Yeah.
And like, how do you do? And she's like, well, I think it did a mid-60s. Like, why do you think it did the mid-60s? And they're like, the other producers were like, yeah, I don't think the lady's likable. We got to cut out the part where she sleeps with her boss. And the director appears and was like, wait, what are you doing? And it's James Mangold.
Yes. The bald guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in my half too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's like, don't touch my movie. What are you doing? And he's like, they're like, we gotta, she's unlikable. We gotta cut out the part where she makes a mistake and sleeps with her boss. Like, have you never made a mistake in your life? This is real people make mistakes, man. Have you never slept with the wrong person? We've always done shit like that. You fuckers are sucking the life out of American cinema. I'm like, damn,
I'm gonna go off and direct Kate and Leopold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, man, maybe I don't know if it got tested to death. Who knows?
I don't know. How is his acting? Probably pretty real, right?
It's pretty real
Came
because
from a real place.
He came from a real deep dark place.
Yeah,
he's playing
exactly.
a role he's familiar in. It's like the chefs and the bear. They're all great because
Right.
they're all playing chefs.
Exactly.
Definitely. So they drove home and Meg's talking to Darcy. Kate's talking to Darcy. Excuse me. I keep saying Meg Ryan.
It's okay.
Kate is talking to Darcy. She's got that thing in her head. She's like, oh, we're ruining cinema. No, listen here, bud. And she goes on a whole rant. Even though Darcy's kind of like, maybe we are. She's like, no, listen here, you dumb director. You're the 1% of the 1%. No one wants a freaking pretentious dude coming in and ruining it for everyone else. No one else wants that shit in their movies. They want to see a movie that they enjoy and they like. I fucking dated a pretentious dude once, and he couldn't pay his rent because he couldn't stoop low enough to get a job like the rest of us. And Darcy's like, oh, Stewart again.
Oh,
Stewart. Who's Stewart?
Who's Stewart?
I wonder who that guy is.
That name sounds like a real scrawny nerd guy.
Yeah, it really does. Not like a Sabertooth.
Not like a
anything.
Sabertooth. No,
Definitely
not like Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber doesn't seem like a Stewart to me.
No, not to me.
No.
So then,
he seems more like a Butch or an Anton.
Ooh, yeah, definitely an Anton.
Something
for
like
sure.
that. Yeah.
Kate's in an elevator and it stops short of like the actual place it's supposed to go on her floor, and I'm like, oh, the elevator's not working. That's interesting. And we got Leopold
Because the person who invented the elevator is taken from history.
But she doesn't know that. No one knows
So
that.
that means elevators cease to exist?
I guess maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
The time travel stuff is a little sketchy on
loopy.
this. It's a little
Yeah.
sketchy on this. But that's not the point of the movie as much.
No. It's a romance.
So then, she's kind of pulling a bath. She's going to chill out. And then the upstairs neighbor's so noisy. There's like a dog barking. And I'm like, man, these neighbors are so obnoxious. So she goes on the fire escape, goes up to the second floor, and she sees Stuart putting some like a person on a bed or something. So she calls him up and says, hey, you need to give me my Palm Pilot. Also, I see you have a lady friend over. He's like, no, it's a man. I know, right? No, it's a man. It's different. She's like, okay, whatever. But you won't believe it. You're not going to believe this. Sit down. I did it. I figured out a way to get to the portals.
So they know each other.
They know each other. She lives below her ex-boyfriend.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, man.
You didn't know they were together?
No.
Thing? Oh, yeah. No, that's her ex that she was talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's Stuart, which makes us think
Stuart
awkward.
is so separate from the rest of the movie in my house.
He gets separate pretty quickly.
Yeah. So he's like, I figured it out.
He's
the pretentious guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I don't really get it.
Yeah. I think he's just smart.
Pretentious smart people can be kind of pretentious too.
Oh, that's fair.
So then Kate is like, all right, well, you got to stop being so noisy. And she keeps using the shock collar on the dog to shock the dog. And then he takes the shock collar off the dog and then she shocks him. It's very weird.
That's very weird.
And then he calls her, says he got the portal. He's like, look, you got the portal. It's great. I followed my great-great-grandpa around in like old New York. But the thing is, here's the kicker. He followed me home.
Oh, no.
He's the Duke of Albany. And she's like, look.
Wait. His great-great-grandpa is Leopold?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that either.
Even weirder, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is this so connected? But I guess if you go back in time, you'd probably follow around like
why not?
Your ancestors, right? Like, why not?
I wouldn't.
I probably wouldn't either, but like,
but some people would.
But some people would, especially if they're like someone who's notable, like you're someone who invented the elevator.
That's pretty big.
I would like to see my like one part of my family who did something really cool, right?
Right.
So yeah, they said they haven't been dating for a whole month, and so you can't be lying to the shit from me now. And he's like, fine, all right. You don't believe me? I'll make something up. This is some guy. He was at a Mac conference for computers, and we were drinking at a bar, and he crashed at my place. She's like, okay, I believe that. He's like, you fucking believe the other part, but whatever. And then she says, look, Stuart, I'm tired of all these lies. I blew my best years on you. And he says, those are your best?
Ooh.
And even then, he has a face where he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And she's like, I'm done.
What a weird thing to say.
I know.
Yeah. He's so pretentious.
But also, like, dude, you just literally had someone travel through time. Like, can you imagine someone being like, you're a fucking liar? Would you have, like, the most obvious proof? It's like a dude who's from here.
You have photos. Well, maybe they weren't developed yet.
Well, that could be true. Oh, yeah, they weren't developed.
Right, because he has to go get them, like, developed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're not digital.
No, it's true. Would have been a much different time if he had a cell phone camera.
Exactly.
But then now people would be like, oh, it's fucking AI, whatever.
Photoshop.
You photoshopped your grandpa in?
Yeah.
So Leopold wakes up on the couch and accidentally presses some buttons, a classic time traveler thing, accidentally getting in with technology. Presses the remote, the TV goes off. He's like, whoa! And then he presses another button and the stereo goes off and he's just overwhelmed. And Stuart comes in, turns it off, and he's like, where am I? And he's like, listen, I know this is crazy, but like, this is the future. And he's like, okay, sure, whatever. And then Kate appears and is like, give me back my fucking... I want to say iPad because like Palm Pilot's just not in my vocabulary anymore.
Not anymore.
Give me back my fucking Palm Pilot. And she's like,
what is he doing with the Palm Pilot?
I don't know. Just like if they dated looking up porn on a little fucking
Palm
black
Pilot.
and white screen.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they connected to the internet.
Probably not.
I don't think the Wi-Fi was really around then.
Yeah.
So then. Yeah, so she's looking for that, and it's like, oh, hey, what's this guy? Hey, I got a problem with my computer. Do you know anything about like how much RAM I need to like run this program? He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, see, you're lying. He's not a Mac guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from the future.
The past.
He's like, okay, whatever. Here's your Palm Pilot. Get out of here. And then Leopold's like, are you gonna lock me up? Why have you taken me prisoner? He's like, no, listen, I'll get you back home soon. There's a portal. It's gonna open up next Monday. That's my backup portal. But I gotta take the dog out because his dog keeps barking the whole time, and I gotta take him to poop. So he's like, I'll explain everything to you soon. I'll be right back. And he's like, okay. So,
how did he figure out that there was gonna be a hole?
A portal?
Yeah.
He's got a paper with all the math on it. Don't worry.
Got it.
Don't worry. The
all
math,
right.
it's movie magic.
Right. It all adds up.
It all adds up. Don't worry. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Don't worry. He'll come back and explain everything.
I can't wait.
It'll be great. So he goes, and he's obviously all flustered by all this. He opens the elevator, and he fucking falls down the elevator shaft.
Jesus.
And I'm like, he's dead.
He's a dead man.
He's dead.
They're really high up on the building.
Stewart is gone now. He's
Yes.
no longer part of this movie.
Yeah.
Because they're not in a skyscraper, but they're at least at like 6 floors or something above, 6, 7,
Yeah.
like pretty high up there.
And also, you don't land on you land on concrete and screws and
Like all sorts of shit. And
heavy
even if you
machinery.
even if you land on the elevator, right? Like
Yeah.
the elevator's got like ropes. It's got bumps on it. It's
Why
not
was the
smooth.
elevator shaft empty?
The elevator's been acting funky, right? They've
Oh.
established that with Kate getting on it.
That's right. That's
and
right.
it was all goofy. So he falls. The dog is like, "Oh shit, what the hell?" And I'm like, "Well, he's dead. I guess we
Yeah.
won't see him." And then Leopold, meanwhile, finds a shaver. He's like, "Whoa, this was crazy." Sprays like shaving cream around. He's like, "Whoa!" And Kate is like,
Real fish out of
Kate
water.
appears again. Is like, "Hey, you got any of my stuff?" You know, like she forgot she forgot the pencil.
She
The
keeps forgetting shit
The
over
pokey
here.
thing. They don't have the pokey thing for the Palm Pilot. You know, the stylus.
Right.
But they call it pokey thing because styluses are not everywhere like they are now.
Right.
I guess they're not everywhere now. They're not called Apple pencils.
But the audience is not going to know what a stylus is.
You're right. So they had to say the pokey thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what like grandma's going to see this movie and be like, what is the pokey thing? Yeah, you think you tapped the
I
Palm
remember
Pilot.
when I was in the 1800s.
And the other pokey things we had were cattle prods. So then Kate's like, comes in. He's like, oh, you're a working woman. You have trousers on. That's impressive. You do research? He's like, yeah, I'm in the research field. It's like, research is perfect for the feminine mind. And he keeps being like, I feel like we've met on a previous occasion. She's like, there's no way. I don't think Stewart even has friends. Anyway, oh man, she gets the pokey thing. She leaves. And she's like, oh, Bart's here. And he's just pissing in the hallway. Like, we gotta go come with me. You got to take him out. And Leopold goes out to the streets of New York City in the 2000s. He's obviously overwhelmed.
Of course.
He's like, go to this electronics store and have him pee over there. I'm going to go leave. So he goes and he gets to the electronics store. The dog is like looking at the electronics, being like, whoa. And there's news reports on the TV that elevators are breaking all across the city, according to the news.
Because
It must be because of that, right?
Yeah.
Because he's out of time. So things start breaking slowly as opposed to just disappearing.
I don't know what to tell you.
It doesn't quite make
I'm not a scientist. If we
I'm
had
not a
Neil
sci-
deGrasse Tyson here, he would, he'd be able to help us.
He absolutely would. He'd explain to us how, R2D2 can't roll across sand or something. Who cares? So then Stewart is running across New York. The dog finally goes poop, and he's like, I'm ready to leave it. And an officer's like, hey, are you going to pick up that poop? And I'm like, all right, New York in 2000s, they're not going to cite you for that.
Not at all.
People fucking poop, like leave poop everywhere, but he just got unlucky, I guess.
Of course.
He's like, I'm not going to touch that poop, madam. You expect me to do that? It's like, all right, listen, I got to write a ticket. So he gives his long-ass name, Leopold, Alexis, Elijah, Walker, Thomas, Gareth, Mountainbatten. And she's like, all right, gives him a ticket and goes on his way. And I'm like, doesn't matter because he's just going to go back in time. Doesn't have to pay the fine.
Yeah.
So then Kate goes to work. And, Darcy is a romantic. She's reading like romance books. She's all into that sort of thing.
Right.
It's funny because her name's Darcy, right?
Oh, Mrs. Darcy.
Mrs. Darcy, yeah, exactly.
Mr. Darcy.
And then
Okay.
she
Putting
talks about,
it all together.
Talks about kind of goes over the meeting for the morning and talks about how JJ's back. This guy named JJ.
JJ.
And he's talking about a big account merger. And Kate's like, oh my God, what? It's like, I got to sit on this. I'm going to, tell me everything he said because it's really important. She's trying to get a promotion. And JJ appears and is like, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to sit on the Farmer's Bounty judgment call with our, other advisors and see how that does.
Right.
Because they're
What is the Farmer's Bounty doll?
They're like an agency that is helping with testing advertising campaigns.
Got it.
Or whatever, movies, whatever. They kind of do everything. I thought it was just going to be test screenings, but they kind of do everything.
Like products.
Like products.
Like Farmer's Bounty is a butter?
Yes,
margarine?
It's a butter thing, yeah. So then cut back to Hugh Jackman, aka Leopold. He's talking about how the world all around him has changed.
It's not flat anymore.
But then he sees the Brooklyn Bridge and it's still standing, and he goes, "This man's erection still stands," he says.
And everyone laughs.
And then the dog runs back. There's an ambulance. He's like, "Oh, the fire brigade!" And he follows it.
The fire brigade.
And he finds Stewart being rolled into the ambulance. I'm like, "Whoa, he's alive! Holy crap!"
Insane.
Don't know how he survived. But,
Yeah.
but whatever. I don't know how time travel exists. So
He's
I
a
guess
mutant.
Yeah, he's a mutant. There
Yeah.
you go. And he's like, "Leopold, what are you doing out? Stay inside. You can't be anywhere." And he gets wheeled off, and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll stay inside." Kate,
This is just like George of the Jungle or something.
it kind of feels like
Yeah.
that, like a more buttoned up version, not
Yeah.
as many fart jokes. Like there's
Not as many, but
not as many.
some.
There's
Yeah.
a monkey. Like
There's
don't
an
poop.
erection joke.
There's a few erection jokes, but they're tasteful.
Yeah, of course. Tasteful erections.
Tasteful erections. If you're a kid, you're like, I don't know what this is. I think it's funny though that erection jokes are just great times. You know, everyone always finds erection jokes funny. Like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just thinking back on one. Every time playing Team Fortress 2, and the engineer says, "I'm erecting a dispenser."
Oh, yeah.
Everyone always thinks like,
That's so funny.
erections, dude.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I feel like they've fallen out of style since Team Fortress 2. I feel like I haven't heard many erections.
You don't play Team Fortress 2.
Oh, I gotta go back.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
probably still yells it.
Definitely.
I just feel like no one.
You don't see it in movies as much.
You don't see jokes about the word erection as much.
That's true.
You know,
And it's a problem.
it's a problem because it's
gotta
it's
resolve
a solid word. I feel like people just
solid word.
pretty solid.
We've been
Stands the
building
test
this
of time.
thing up. Exactly.
Erecting this joke for a while. Kate's doing a presentation about a butter product, and it is basically showing these commercials. And all these commercials suck. They're like a dude who's kind of shifty, basically in a black background, and he's explaining butter, and he's like, "This butter will like make you cum, dude. It's so good." He doesn't say that, but you know, he's saying stuff.
I don't think that's going to pass. That's not a good advertisement.
Yeah, she comes back to the report. People say 40% of people say he's shifty.
And he wants to come on everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. So then the other guy's just too eccentric. He's like, "You're gonna love my butter. It's amazing." And all these reports are bad. Like, we got to get a new person.
Right.
And but she's, you know,
We got to get someone
she's tense,
distinguished.
and she spills coffee on herself. And they don't have a lot of time. They got to shoot this in like 2 days. But JJ's cool. He's like, "I'll get you a new blouse.
Do you recognize JJ?
Get you a new blouse." Oh God, he did look familiar. Bradley Whitford.
Yep. He would have voted for Obama a third time.
Oh yeah, he is that guy,
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah.
He is that guy. But yeah, so I lost my spot trying to look for the actor's name. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no, and everything's frozen on my computer. And I don't know where I am. My stupid computer. Stupid technology. If only I had a Palm Pilot with all my notes on
And
it.
a stylus.
And a stylus. Oh, that would have been so good. But yeah, so the presentation goes poorly. Leopold, on the other hand, but JJ gets the clothes for her and actually knows her size, which is a little weird. She's
He's
like,
creepy.
"Get a small white blouse for her,
Right.
please, to replace the one she spilled coffee on."
Right.
And then Leopold, meanwhile, is looking at Hungry Man TV dinners, and,
And he's like, I am a hungry
"I
man.
am a hungry man." He doesn't know how to cook it though.
Right.
He gets call from Stuart, and he picks up the phone, figures out, I was like, "Oh, Mr. Bell's invention. It must have really broken through in the future. I'm excited to see it. This is really cool that he did this. I saw this at the
Oh, I
World's
see.
Fair ages ago."
Right.
And this little kid just breaks into his house. And I
What?
guess it's this little boy, and he's just hanging out watching TV. And he's like, "Oh, hey, I know Stuart. Me and him watch TV while my mom gets back from work. He watches me while I just hang out."
Okay.
He's like, "Okay, cool." So he just hangs out and does that.
Cool.
And then Kate has a meeting with let's see, a meeting with JJ.
Uh-huh.
In his private office. He gets
Oh.
a shirt, and he's like, what I like about you is you're different than other ladies. You
You're
know?
not like all the other girls.
You're not like all the other girls. You don't get caught up in the motion. You don't do pretty. You're like a man. You're like a man who understands women, and that's very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
You understand them, but not really one of them. And I'm like, wow, these are all the weirdest things to say.
I
He's
would have
like,
voted for Hillary a third time.
yeah. And she's like, he's like, "You're not offended by me being frank?" She's like, No, this is great. Totally. Yeah, it's totally great.
He's such a, like a nice guy.
I know.
Yeah.
And then
Milady.
yeah, exactly. So Kate's brother arrives into her place, but then hears
Charlie.
all the sound going on. Charlie, yes, and sees that. Here's Leopold telling a story to kid. He's doing a whole presentation of the Pirates of Penzance
Oh.
because he just saw it recently,
That's pretty funny.
and he's like, "Yeah, I saw it on the 5th." And Charlie appears and is like, "Wow, they're playing the Pirates of Penzance on the 5th. That's weird. I don't remember that." And he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm Kate's brother." Blah blah blah.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? He's like, "Don't worry, I'm an actor, just like you," because he assumes he's an actor doing like a whole bit.
I didn't know he was an actor.
Charlie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Charlie.
I didn't know what his whole deal was.
So Kate is going back to her office and talking.
Kate is spending so much time at work.
She's a working woman, man.
Yeah, that's true.
wears
She's
the
not like all the other girls.
She's got trousers on and everything.
Trousers on.
And then Kate she's gunning for that senior vice president position.
Yes.
Darcy's like, "Yes, you should do it." But she's like, "He's not giving it to me though. He keeps dangling it like a carrot. He's gonna take me out to dinner tomorrow." I think it's interesting. In the last movie we saw, also
With
had
Clifford?
With Clifford,
Yeah.
also had a woman in a corporate position being manipulated by a man in power.
Yeah.
Big
Going
thing
out to
in the
dinner.
90s to 2000s.
Yeah, womanizer.
Yeah.
JJ's not a good guy.
No, JJ's bad. So then let's see. So Kate then gets news that Stuart's in the hospital, goes and visits him. It's very nice. It's like, we're going to get you all the specialists and all these things. Like, I feel bad that you got hurt. Like, she's being really cool about it, which is weird because he keeps talking about, like, listen,
Portals
man,
and shit.
this is crazy. We need to protect Leopold. He's going to get trapped in a portal. Look, and she still doesn't believe him. She's like, please develop these photos I got, and you'll see. And she's like, nah, I'm not going to develop them.
Dude.
Do you want doubles? Is what she says. I'm like, ooh, I forgot about getting. Remember, you get doubles.
Yeah, that's
when you
right.
develop?
Getting
You're like,
multiple.
Can I get multiple ones and give one away?
Yeah.
And he's like, please just do it. She's like, nah. And I'm like, why?
Why not?
You did all this other stuff, but you're not going to develop the photos?
It's not even that hard.
I
You don't
know.
even do anything. Just drop it off at like a convenience store.
And then come back later and look at them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to see this crazy person's like weird photos that he wants to get developed?
Just his dick.
An elaborate, like that's something he's done in the past.
Yeah, I'm not going to do
Is
this again.
Is this another Stuart dick pic photo trick? We're gonna have a bunch of people have to look at your dick photos. Yeah.
so pretentious.
It's very weird. So then Kate walks in to see Leopold and Charlie, and Charlie's like, I invited him to dinner. He's so fancy. He's fun. He's like, he's an actor like me. He's great. And so they go to dinner. He arrives at dinner. He's very polite. He stands every time she gets up because it's very polite.
Because it's proper.
He eats his tater tots with a fork and a knife. And he can't really eat the I mean, this is clearly the microwave hungry man.
Right.
And he's just kind of like, I would like the next course, please. He doesn't want to eat the rest of the chicken. And she's like, there's no other course. He's like, oh, where I come from, all the menu items are laid out. You know, we understand how this all works. Also, did you know that Stuart had like a whole bunch of work done about this portal? It's crazy. I read it all. It's a fascinating work.
He read it?
Yeah, he was reading. What else are you gonna fucking do when you're trapped?
I mean, I don't know how he'd understand it.
I mean, he's an engineer, right? So he probably understands lots of engineering
I'm sure that
stuff.
I guess, but I feel like there's been like
A lot of discoveries since then.
a lot of
that's
like
true.
advances in math.
Maybe
and
he just was
technology.
like, this must be an accepted truth. Whatever. and
Sure,
moves on.
yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of weird. And then he's like, yeah, you know about this portal stuff. And Charlie's like, what's a portal? I'm like, you don't fucking know what a portal is? What a weird... Did people in 2000 not understand what portals were?
They didn't know what a stylus was, right?
I guess you're right, but like... Did they test screen this? And they were like, people don't
know what a portal
We need
is.
to have Charlie explain what a portal is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess the video game Portal didn't come out yet, but
Yeah.
like, I don't think that was the invention
The
of
first
portals.
They named a game Portal. Like portals.
Were a thing.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
knew about it. So how's Charlie, an actor, not know what a portal is? This motherfucker just never did improv. He's like, no imagination.
They throw the word portal at him during improv. He's like, well, I don't know what the fuck that is.
What is that? I gotta fake
What
it.
is
I gotta
this?
fake it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm hula hooping this portal. That's how it works,
Hello,
right?
Mr. Portal. Yes, and I am.
I am a black hole. I think.
Yeah.
Kate's getting annoyed by Leopold because he's too much. He's too proper. He insults her food. She's like, get out of here. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I'm sorry to offend. I will leave. And Kate thinks it's annoying.
It is annoying.
Leopold's annoying. And Charlie's like, no, it's cool that he's method like that, man. He's like, what show is he working for?
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, just because you're out of work doesn't mean he's just someone who's working on his craft out of work. And I'm like, that's a funny excuse. Like just someone being so method they don't even have anything.
This
to
is
be
a
method
great
for.
way of like writing around the fact
It
that
is
he's going
very
to act
funny.
this way. Yeah.
So then Stuart, meanwhile, gets his phone taken away because he doesn't have a cell phone. They don't allow it in the hospital.
Or his Palm Pilot.
Yeah, which is funny because I was like, oh yeah, they don't allow those. They definitely were like, when cell phones first came out, you're like, can't have them on a plane, can't have them anywhere else because the signals are messing with everything.
Right.
It seems like nowadays no one cares.
I think the technology is different.
The
I think back in the day too, they were worried about like cancer and stuff too.
Yeah, and the stakes are much higher back then, right? Because you're like, you don't know. And just because you haven't proved it, you're like, let's just be safe and not have cell phones.
Exactly.
But he tries using the landline, and he accidentally pulls out someone's breathing cord next to him.
Oh,
and
shit.
So the nurse is like, oh, shit, what are you doing? You can't have a phone in here anymore because you're being an asshole. So
You're being an asshole?
Oh, he like unplugged someone's fucking cords to try to get it.
I see, okay.
So the nurse like sedates him and puts him out.
Damn.
And then Kate's doing yoga while also reading, which I think is very poignant. A good character choice of that. Like she's like trying to read notes about like test screenings.
Oh, I see.
While also doing yoga, which feels like antithetical to the whole thing about yoga.
Right, relaxing but also working.
Mm-hmm. So and then, but the smoke alarm goes off because Leopold's burning toast upstairs.
How?
And he complains. He's burning toast. Okay. So this is a scene I don't like. I was alive during this time, right? I had toasters during this time.
Yeah.
Leopold's up there and he's like, this General of Electric does not understand how, in my day, when you do toast, you toasted once and it'd be good. But now you have to put the toast in once. It's not fully toasted. So you have to put it down again to get a full second toast, but it comes out burnt. I don't understand it. And I'm like, yeah, because you're burning the toast. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, everyone does that.
No.
Everyone puts the toast in twice. I'm like,
No.
there's a setting on those toasters to show you lighter or darker. Are you guys stupid?
At first, I was gonna go like, "Well, he's an idiot. He doesn't.
Exactly. He doesn't understand
know that
technology.
there's
That's
like,
fine."
yeah.
And I thought
she says everyone does that.
Everyone does that, and I'm like, this is not accepted.
No, not at all.
There's like
That's not true.
When
They
I was
both
a kid,
don't understand.
When I was a kid, I had the oldest toaster you ever seen. It was from like the 70s.
So it's probably still working too.
It was working until I moved out.
Yeah.
It had a lighter and darker setting. And you
Yeah.
push the button to eject the toast early.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to dial in exactly what you wanted. And if it was getting too hot, you'd eject it early. But she
Fucking morons.
But she's just, she calls it the pointy thing. So, but she seems so smart. That's what's so weirdly inconsistent about her.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know. It's just how it is.
People
But-
watching the movie just
Yeah.
I also always burn the toast.
But also, it shows that, like, I think it is also a character choice as well, where maybe this is wrong, and she just accepts it because she doesn't. Clearly, she's eating Hungry Man's and cooking it for people. She's culinary. The love of culinary, like, cuisine is just not something she's a part of, which I think is funny.
She lives in an apartment complex.
She lives in an apartment
She doesn't
complex.
have like a full-on kitchen that she can probably like. And also, like, she's a
make
working
stuff.
woman. She
She's a
doesn't
working
have the
woman. She
time.
doesn't have time. Exactly. So it makes sense that she just is like, whatever. I put the toast down twice. Who cares?
I'm not gonna learn how to use a toaster.
She's like,
You know something? Nobody gives a rat's ass that you have to push the toast down twice. You know why? Because everybody pushes their toast down twice.
Not where I come from.
Oh, because where you come from, toast is the result of reflection and study.
Ah, yes, you mock me. But perhaps one day, when you've awoken from a pleasant slumber to the scent of a warm brioche smothered in marmalade and fresh creamery butter, you'll understand that life is not solely comprised of tasks, but tastes.
And that is a perfect butter commercial.
but I forgot about the butter commercial.
Oh,
I wasn't thinking like a working woman. I was thinking about how good and sexy it sounded when he was saying talking about that, and she says, "Say that again." And I was like, "Oh, finally, she's gonna." I was wondering when the romance part was gonna happen, right? Like you're kind of waiting this whole time because she's got to get over the whole like this guy's annoying.
the movie is
he's
named
weird.
after these two people.
Exactly. Clearly, they're gonna like have a thing going, and I'm like, "Is this the moment?" And no, which is funny because I thought it was gonna be that, and then suddenly. She brings him over to read the commercial.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, of course. Like, romance doesn't even enter her brain.
No,
right?
no,
She
no.
is all about working.
Mm-hmm.
And even doesn't enter his brain either.
No.
So then he brings her over to read the commercial. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Why are we getting this guy? We already have the take. And they're like, look, the test audience for these commercials is extremely bored. Let's just try this. So he starts reading the lines in front of the camera. And everyone's immediately taken because he's just like, selling you butter. And it feels like a commercial you'd see in the 90s. Like I feel like they're obsessed with black backgrounds and like people telling you stuff back in the day, like 90s, 80s.
Yes.
They would just have someone literally come on screen and advertise to you, right?
Would you like the Grey Poupon?
Exactly.
Like,
it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so he basically reads like, fresh, creamy butter. Is there anything more comforting? You shall receive butter's comfort in your mouth. And everyone's like,
Not
whoa,
a dry
this is
seat in the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, handsome Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman reading these lines. And, everyone's very excited for this. And they leave and they pat him on the back. And JJ comes out and gives a kiss on the back of Kate's neck, like a creep.
Not a fan of that.
And then shakes his hand. Is like, the costume's a great touch, Leopold. Good job. And she's so excited. She did great. She's celebrating while they're walking back home. And he's like, you're going to dinner with that man. And she's like, yeah, I am. He's like, well, you need a chaperone. I'll offer my services because that man's intentions are obvious. She's like, no, I don't need that. That'll be fine. Don't worry. He's like, listen, if I were interested, I would put a note that my intentions were this. I'd be very obvious about it. And,
Straightforward.
But this guy has not told you, but it's clear. He's got something.
He wants to bed you.
He wants to bed you, basically. Oh, why don't we take this horse and carriage to home instead of this cab?
Oh, yes. Horse and carriages.
And she's like, no, we'll just take a cab. She's about ready to get into the cab. And then someone comes and steals her purse or her bag.
Oh, my goodness.
And he starts running in the Central Park. And Leopold's like, oh, shit. So he goes, she runs after him. And the bad guy gets away. And then behind her, Leopold comes riding on the white horse through Central Park.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, this is awesome.
This is awesome.
But then he does a ridiculous thing, which is like, come with me, and grabs her hand and puts her on the back of the horse. So they're riding through Central Park on a horse.
At night.
No, it's during the day.
Oh, okay.
And it gets to basically, I was the robber. He sees this horse. Is like, I'm going to keep running. I'm like,
No,
if I see someone on a horse, I'm
drop
fucking
the
dropping that
purse.
shit
Yeah.
and leaving. This is not worth it.
Not at all.
I fucked with the wrong
Whatever's
person.
in the purse,
Not worth it. No.
getting stomped
Not
over
worth
by
it
a
at all.
horse. Yeah.
So he eventually gets cornered, and then he realizes he's at an impasse. He drops it and runs away, and everyone cheers. Who's watching?
This is just a normal day in New York City.
This is a normal day in New York City. He gives the horse back to the person who has the carriage, and the guy riding the carriage is like, "Oh, your boyfriend's a great rider." And,
He's not my boyfriend.
He just goes, "Yeah," because he's in shock. Because like, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then they ride back in the carriage. And she's like, "Actually, you're for real, aren't you?" And he's like, "Listen, I was born a duke, but I never really felt like one."
Aw.
And she's like, "Wow." So he actually they go home. He actually starts training the dog properly because the dog most of the time just barks.
I never see this fucking dog in my house.
Really?
in
The
movie.
dog just
Yeah.
is all over the place in my house.
What is it? What breed is
It's a
it?
big dog. Big dog breed.
Never see this fucking
Big dog. Too in a small apartment, way too big. Like,
Yeah.
And he's also like Stuart for some reason has these dog doors up, and it's contained to just the kitchen.
What
And
the
I'm like,
fuck?
This is a big dog. Let him run around your apartment. But he's just
Yeah.
contained there barking the whole time. Like,
Stuart's not a good dog owner.
no, he's not. He's clearly too eccentric.
He's too pretentious.
Too pretentious. That's his problem.
Yeah.
Let's see. So he comes back home. Charlie's a little upset with Kate
Why?
for not inviting him to do the butter commercial.
Oh,
She's like,
yeah. He could have been a good actor.
You're not really a butter commercial guy. He's like, look, I could do anything though. I'm an actor. I could turn into any role. And he's like, look, I'm going to pretend to be watching this baseball game as a Victorian person. Oh, I say, what is this? And now I'm going to do it as an Indian person. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
And they kind of ignore him, like, all right, you weirdo. And so he does that for a bit, and then he's like, "No, I'm a Canadian," and they're ignoring him.
Now this is a black person. Just goes through every
stereotype.
Yeah. Oh no.
I know.
Now a Chinese person.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it, Charlie.
Stop it, Charlie.
You're not gonna get jobs like this.
So your role is bank robber? He's like, what if he was Indian?
Yeah.
Well, you're not Indian. That doesn't matter. I can do anything.
But I can do it.
But no, he got a
No
good.
wonder he's not
you know
getting
what?
jobs. He's trying to take jobs away from other
He should have been
nationalities.
he should have been a voice actor. It's so much easier
There
back
you
then to
go.
just do that. He could have
That's
been the next
true.
Apu.
That's right.
So she goes off. She's like, okay, I got to go to dinner with this guy. And he's like, Leopold's like, are you sure you don't want a chaperone? He's like, no, it'll be fine. He's like, okay, so we'll just hang out here with my boy Charlie, and we'll go out while you guys have dinner. So she goes out. JJ asks him like, hey, that Leopold guy, pretty cool. Where'd you find him? He's like, oh, he's from my apartment. He's like, are you sleeping with that dude? And she's like, no, not at all. Anyway, check out this place I have. It's very fancy. It's, over in like England or Europe or something. And he's showing him pictures like really cool. I got a garden, and well, I got to go out there once this merger completes. And, if you want to come out and like see the place, it'd be really cool for my head honcho to like come see my area. And she's like,
dangling that fucking
say
carrot.
more about that head honcho thing. And he's like, oh, it's just, ignores it. Basically, it's just like, this merger's going to be really big and all this stuff. So it's like, oh, is she really going to keep going for this? Keep dangling it.
Yeah.
So then, that's a quid pro quo. Learned that in sexual harassment training.
It's not great.
Not great at all.
Yeah.
Not
He
great at
wants,
all.
in order to get head honcho.
Wants that quid.
Yeah. He wants the head.
No.
I know.
God.
Not a good
he's
guy.
on his haunches.
Exactly.
Okay, so then Charlie then takes Leopold to the club.
To the club?
To a club. And Charlie
does a bastard orphan son of Wisconsin.
Dracula playing in the background.
Yeah. Dracula playing. It's like the Matrix. Yeah.
No,
That would be awesome.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Charlie is there and is infatuated with this lady called Patrice.
Oh, who is I never see Patrice in my half of the movie.
She doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah. What is her deal? Is she an actor?
No, she's just one of the friends. Part of the friend group, I think.
Okay.
And he keeps talking, and like she's drinking, and they're all just hanging out, kind of like a quieter part of the club. He just keeps talking about his actor group. It's like, we're the foes of my actor group. He does all this stuff, and it's amazing. And he just keeps talking. Everyone's clearly kind of bored by like what he's saying. But then,
Right.
And he's like, there's all this stuff. Like, the thing about, like, being an actor is, like, in the basement's where all the interesting stuff is, right? Like, that's where all the cool stuff is. And Leopold's like, oh, yes, like the Louvre. And everyone's like, wait, you been to the Louvre? Tell us more about that. And he's like, oh, yes. And everyone's fascinated. And he starts talking about it. He's like, it's amazing. It's incredible that it's there. And she is, of course, infatuated. Everyone is, because this man is just so quiet and talking about something interesting as opposed to...
He's got an accent.
Boring shit, yeah. Boring shit about...
And Charlie's like, I can do accents too.
Oh, no. Yes, the Louvre. Cool. Pay attention
Here's
to
an
me.
Indian guy walking around the Louvre.
Oh, no. So then they leave, and Charlie's like drunk. He's upset. He's like, man, Leopold, like, we're going to have a great time. Patrice is totally going to go out and get her number. Like, if you didn't start turning this into like a whole like guided tour situation about the Louvre, you know?
Yeah.
And like it worked. Patrice was interested in you. She thinks you're cute, but maybe also gay. And that's like the kiss of death, man, being cute. Like,
I don't like Charlie.
No, Charlie's getting kind of like, okay.
I don't like Charlie. Charlie's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's cute, man. And he's like, you know, she'll never be with you or whatever if you're cute. And he's like, well, I think this is her number. And he pulls out a napkin. And gives it to him. And he's like, listen, Charlie, women respond to sincerity. Mm-hmm. This requires pulling one's tongue out from one's cheek.
Yes.
And not being sincere. And then that's the end of my half.
Right. And basically Leopold says that he got Patrice's number for Charlie. Basically said to Patrice that, like, hey, my friend likes you a lot. He's too shy to say it. Can you give me your number for him? So, like, Leopold was doing Charlie a solid. Massive wingman,
Massive
dude.
wingman.
This guy is super cool.
A gentleman.
About it. A massive
like, this
gentleman.
is what a gentleman should be.
Exactly. And so then he's like, I'm not interested in Patrice, blah, blah, blah. Not a big deal. Please go out with her if you want to. And then later on, they're just sort of walking around. They're like, so what do we do now? And, you know, he's like, oh, let's go back to our, you know, let's go out, whatever. And he's like, do you think Kate's back home now? And Charlie's like, what do you want to know about Kate? And he's like, I
thought he'd just be interested because he's hanging out with a freak.
Well, then he's like, you like Kate, don't you? And he's like, oh, I'm a gentleman. I don't know about that. He's like, you want to vex my sister.
Oh, man. He's got to say all the coolest slang. Yeah. That definitely doesn't age well. Nope. Hold up.
So he's like, let's go. I know where they're going to dinner. Let's go wreck their dinner, basically. So they go.
Typical brother move.
She's still out with JJ, which is her boss. I wrote that down. I'm like, holy shit, it's her boss.
Yeah.
Charlie and Leopold show up and drop in, ruin the date. And JJ reveals, he tries to sound cultured. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, yeah, I saw La Bohème. It's my favorite opera. Mm-hmm. But because it's an old opera and because Leopold knows things about operas, he can pick out that JJ's lying about having seen La Bohème.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, the fact that he is, like, a rich aristocrat is that he knows like art and math. He's like very, very, very well educated in culture. And it's funny how like a lot of that culture that he knows about is like people are bringing it up and it still is relevant. Which I think is just a really funny thing because like a lot of that stuff that is that good back in the day is still relevant.
Stick around.
Like
Pirates of Penzance,
like stuff like that.
The elevator.
The elevator is still around, so good.
The telephone.
Graham's telephone?
Yeah.
Mr. Bell?
So yeah, he basically reveals that JJ is an oaf and a liar, and he says...
Well, some feel that to court a woman in one's employ is nothing more than a serpentine effort to transform a lady to a whore.
Oh, my goodness. It's funny because he's a gentleman, but also says some things that are dated.
I wrote down, no one like that. It's like, no one, JJ doesn't like it. Fucking Kate's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, nobody fucking liked him saying that shit.
No one was down for that line.
So they return home. Kate is furious, closes her bedroom door, doesn't want to talk to Leo or Charlie. And Leopold, very upset about it.
Yeah.
So the next morning, he finds a big feather and he cuts it. Like end of it, and then he takes a bunch of pens and he like breaks the pens open and like gets a bunch of ink into a cup and then he uses the feather to write a little note apologizing.
He's like, I don't want to learn how to use this.
No, I'm not going to use the pen.
No,
I'm going to still use the feather, the quill.
And somehow that makes it more romantic.
It's pretty. And so he writes down and he writes a big apology and he asks for forgiveness and he's like, would you please join me for dinner tonight so I can make it up to you? And she apologizes to JJ. Mm-hmm. Kate apologizes to JJ, which is very messed up because JJ is an oaf, a brute.
Yeah.
And so she reads this letter at her work leaves it on her desk. Darcy reads the letter, and Darcy's like,
Darcy's just like going ham. She's loving this. She's
Darcy's
all
like,
about
this
it.
is the most romantic forgiveness letter ever. Of course you have to have dinner with him tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think you should tell your boss how to live her life.
They have a very friendly like boss relationship thing.
We're like family here.
Yeah, exactly.
So then all this time I'm like, oh, this is cute. It's a cute little movie about, a guy from the past. Still don't know how he got here. Romancing this woman. It's all very cute. And then all of a sudden we cut and we're in a psychiatrist office.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? And there's this guy, he's ranted about how like elevators aren't real anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And all this shit. And he's talking to a doctor who's played by Spalding Gray, who is like a character actor. He was also in, we saw him in True Stories together, but he was also in, How High? He was in that movie as well.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, he was a very well-known character actor back in the day.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see him in this movie. And there's Liev Schreiber's just ranting at him, talking about how like there's a man from the past and the future and all this stuff. And then he's like, I'm going to prescribe you an antipsychotic. And they just fucking like restrain him. And I'm like, what is happening now? Like, what is this movie now? Like,
Stewart needs to fucking chill. All right. Stewart needs to just keep this close to his chest and not be spouting like this is emergency. Make up some shit.
Yes.
Like, it's like he doesn't understand how absurd it is to find a fucking portal. I guess when
No
you're
one's
like
gonna believe
when you're
you.
that deep into it, you're like, obviously people have to believe
I'm
this.
just
I
like,
have proof.
what is happening in this movie? Like, I didn't realize how this
they had
connected.
to delay, I guess, or like have some sort of connection of like, okay, well, we know the portal's gonna. It sounds like the portal only opens up once
once
not
every
very
week.
often.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's once every week. I think it's like just
twice?
happens to be twice this time.
Yeah.
Who knows how the next time is going to open?
Right.
So it seems like there's a bit of a time crunch.
So Leopold helps Charlie pick flowers out for Patrice. Charlie then confesses his love to Patrice over the phone. So it's a date.
Nice.
He's like, I loove you. You look great.
That's
but
wild. She's not in the movie in your half.
Never see her.
That's wild.
Never see her. To the point where I'm like, is Patrice real? Like, did they even bother casting someone? Kate wears a new dress to the rooftop date. I noticed this because it has a little like tag on it.
Oh, okay.
Which also probably goes to show that she doesn't get dressed up that often.
Yeah.
So she goes up to the roof where Leopold is. Leopold has hired a guy who plays violin to play music for them up there. She says that she doesn't believe in love, and he admits that he would have married another woman if Stewart hadn't have shown up, and because he needs to marry for money because his family's poor. And I'm like, who's Stewart?
Oh yeah. Just the guy in that straight jacket you saw earlier.
I don't know this because they never say his name. So they dance and then they kiss. They also say this one thing where she's like,
how they kissed already?
they kissed because she's like, I don't know if I fall in love, and he says something like, falling in love is like taking a leap of faith, and sometimes you just need to jump, which goes back to the Brooklyn Bridge thing.
Oh, okay. I thought it was he needs to jump because I was thinking about Stewart falling down the elevator.
Yeah, that's true too. So the next morning, Leo wakes up and Charlie's awake too, and they both are done with their dates. And Charlie's like, "Yeah, last night was pretty great," and Leo's like, "Yeah, it was pretty great." And I'm like, "Well,
Let's go, bro.
Yeah, I fucking banged your sister, bro."
Yeah, sick.
And he's like, so Charlie's like, "Look,
who was dating my great grandson like only a month before?"
Yeah. So he's like, "Who are you really?" Because like, you're
can't
not
time travel.
You're not
That's
the
weird.
yeah, exactly. And he's like, "I'm the man who loves your sister."
I love that.
Yep.
I'm just gonna be more creepy.
Yeah. So he makes breakfast for Kate, and they spend the whole.
What kind of breakfast, bro? Because he talks some big game about the breakfast.
It was bread. It was toast with strawberries.
Okay, so preserves.
And
was it like nice bread or was it just like? Because he was talking about brioche earlier.
I think it might have been brioche.
Okay.
He might have gone to brioche, and he put some
was throwing some like
butter on top of it.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was throwing some like Wonder Bread in the toast of her.
He doesn't know what he just burnt toast.
Burnt toast, yeah.
He makes some breakfast for her, and then they spend the day together walking around New York. And he walks up to his uncle's house, which is still standing.
Oh, okay.
The mansion at the beginning of the movie that the party was at.
Oh, yes.
But it's still there. It's still standing, and there is still a painting of his parents and him on the wall there. But it's like an abandoned building now,
They
basically.
abandon it? That seems
It's not
wild.
like run down. I think it's those sorts of buildings that like they rented out for like events and stuff.
Oh, okay, got it.
There's basically nobody in there, so they just sneak in.
Yeah, it's a little too big for like one person to own in New York, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they walk around, and he pulls open a drawer that's been painted over, and so it's sort of like mysterious. Like, how did he know? Right?
Yeah.
How could he have known that there was?
So she still doesn't believe he's from the future.
No,
the past.
no, not at all. He
But
opens.
yet she kisses him. Kind of wild.
well, man, well, he's attractive.
That's
I mean,
true.
He's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's true. It's
You
kind
know?
of hard to deny that.
Exactly.
Talking
So
about that butter, no other person can.
Exactly. So he opens up this drawer that was painted over, and inside is his mother's ring in a little secret
Oh
compartment.
shit, that's fucking cool.
And
Man.
and he's like,
That's just romantic.
and
as
he
fuck.
holds on to that ring. He holds on to that ring.
But she doesn't know. She's just this like.
She sees the ring, but she doesn't know that he's holding on to it.
Oh, okay.
She asks if he misses where he's from, and he's like, I miss how much slower it was back then.
No, that's fair.
It's technology or whatever. And then they go back to their place, and they're sitting on the fire escape. And across from them in another building, there's an old man who lives near Kate, who plays the soundtrack to Breakfast at Tiffany's every night before he goes to sleep. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, it's a very odd choice.
Very strange choice.
I didn't never.
She starts out going like, have you ever seen Breakfast at Tiffany's? And he's like, no. I'm like, don't show it to him. Like, he's going to think some really crazy things about.
He's gonna be like, wow,
Yeah.
Chinese
that's
were a lot different than I thought they were.
Oh, your brother does that accent.
Yes, those teeth as well. That's
Yeah.
weird.
So they're relaxing, and then he pulls out the ring from his pocket, and he wants to propose to Kate so bad, but she's just so sleepy, so he doesn't propose to her. And he picks her up and takes her
Moving
to
fast.
bed. Moving. Honestly, kind of, right? It's only been a
But
couple
I guess
of days.
back in the day, it was like he's literally just like meeting people for the first time, basically, and has to
Moving
marry
fast
one
for
of them.
him, too. Or for her, I mean.
For her,
Right?
I don't think for him. Which is weird because he talks about how he misses the slower life, yet he'd be
Yeah.
married so much faster back in the day.
Like this. So the next day, he's shooting the commercial for the margarine that he's trying to sell. And he takes a bite of it, and he finds it disgusting. And he takes a moral stance against it. He's like, I don't want to advertise a low-quality product. And the director's like, who cares? Let's get another shot. And
Oh yeah, that's also the thing is it's margarine, right?
it's margarine.
Not butter.
It's not even butter.
It's interesting.
So, and then he asks Kate, like, did you know that this was not a good product? Have you had this? And she's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, and you're willingly selling it to people? And she's like, yeah, that's my job. And he's like, I cannot imagine having a job such as this. And she's like, yeah, you couldn't imagine having a job at all. You've had a silver spoon in your mouth your whole life. And you're like, you don't know what it's like to work. And in this moment, Meg Ryan has to really act. And I'm like, God, she's so bad in this movie. Like, I don't know, I haven't brought it up until now, but like when she's really called upon to act, I'm like, she's like falling over her words.
That's wild.
She has no.
I always thought she was a decent actor.
I thought so too.
Maybe she's just playing like super flustered.
Listen,
right?
I think that's probably what it is. But like, listen back to our episodes, like Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah.
Like, we like her as an actor.
That's
She
why
is-
it was weird.
She's doing a really bad job in this
What
one
it is.
scene.
I wonder if it's just because like maybe she's trying to be like I'm a professional having emotions for once.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she just
No,
doesn't.
'cause she's
maybe
kinda-
the character doesn't believe what she's saying. But I don't know.
Maybe.
It's just not.
Because she's been mad at Stuart many times in my half.
And
I
you
was
felt
like,
it?
I felt like she was fine, but
in this moment, it just doesn't work. And so they have this big fight, and then she's like, "We had a great weekend, and now it's over. And they're not gonna fall in love with each other after this one fight.
okay,
It's just not gonna work out.
it's a lot.
Yeah. So back in the
So
psych ward,
pretentious.
back in the psych ward, we see Stuart, and he's telling this nurse, he's like, I know. And he seems like drugged out at first because he's been taking the antipsychotic, but he's still like lucid. And he's talking to the nurse, and he's like, I'm like a dog who saw rainbows. You know, dogs can't see color, right? Well, I saw a rainbow, and all the other dogs don't believe me, but I know the rainbow is real, and no one believes. And then the nurse is like, I believe you, and I'm like, what? Why? And so she helps him escape.
I love that. That's
So
ridiculous.
he fucking just runs out, and then he's still like, I think he's probably still like on the psychotic, so he's just like tripping over himself,
Oh,
like
man.
running around the yard, and I'm like, no one's
I
gonna
like
stop him.
the psychotics are just basically a sedative they give him.
Yeah, exactly. So he arrives back at Charlie's place. I don't know how he wound up back there because I don't know how his connection is to all this. What I thought was going on was that Charlie and Kate like lived like near each other. I thought this was Charlie's apartment, right?
It is very confusing because they swap between the two because they look the same because they're on top of each other.
And also, well, I didn't realize this was Stuart's apartment.
Yeah.
So Stewart arrives back there, and I'm like, how did Stewart know where Charlie's apartment was?
Yeah.
And how did Stewart know about Leo? And now I realize what's been going on, basically.
It's really funny.
And
You're
so
just like, this guy is crazy.
So Stewart's like, Leopold, you know you need to go back. You know you can't stay here. And today's the last day that you got to go back. So Kate's boss, we cut back to Kate's job. Kate's boss, JJ, gives Kate his job, the job that she's been gunning for, because he's going to go overseas. And so he's like, you deserved it. And Kate calls up Stewart's place to talk to Leopold and tell him that she got the job. But Stewart picks up the phone and says, hey, Kate, I'm back. Leopold's gone.
Yeah.
Send him back home.
Send him back to the...
Now, here's the way it works,
Uh-huh.
by the way, the rules.
Okay, yeah.
He's been returned back to his time period,
Uh-huh.
okay?
Right.
But it's the same day that already happened.
Oh. Okay, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, if it's a portal to a specific day,
Yes.
then he's just gonna repeat it again.
Right.
Wait, so does that mean he still exists? So he has
Yeah.
to watch himself do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
That's not explained, okay?
Okay.
So that's not explained.
So he doesn't see a double version of him.
He doesn't. We never see that.
Okay.
We when we cut back to the past, we are seeing the party currently commencing, basically.
Okay.
We don't see him running into himself.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you're to think that maybe like, oh, well, maybe this is like another like timeline, possibly.
Sure.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. So then there's a collection of photos. The photos have now been developed.
Uh-huh.
And Charlie sees the photos, and photos is like, oh, Leo was telling the truth. He really was from the past. But I'm like, if I saw these photos, I'd be like, this doesn't prove anything.
What do you mean?
Like-
There's like pictures of like the old ass Brooklyn Bridge and shit. Like,
No, these are not pictures of the old ass Brooklyn
because
Bridge.
he was taking pictures of that. It looked like.
He never sees those. We see photos. Sorry, we see photos of them like dancing, and I'm like, this is just like a dress up party.
Yeah,
you know, like
that's
this
not
doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
But then in one of the photos, what do you think we see?
We see Stewart there. No, we see an old elevator.
We see Kate.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
There is a moment, I'm trying to remember, when he is running away trying to catch catch Stewart initially.
Right.
And it cuts and it shows like a lady turning around really quickly, a blonde lady. And
That was Kate.
That must have been her.
Must have been Kate.
Okay.
But that doesn't make sense,
No.
because if he goes back into the past and already took the photos and Kate was in there, then he must have gone back into the past and had to avoid himself for most of the night, right?
Well, maybe there can only be one instance, right? Because if Kate's already there, right? Like this is the future Kate is there in the past, right?
Right.
So she's hanging out, doing her thing, and now we've changed kind of the past again because now Leopold's back again.
Right.
But he's already done his thing.
Right.
So
it's all predestined.
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
That's what my theory
I don't
is.
know.
It's
Who
wonky.
cares?
Yeah, I mean,
Who
you think
cares?
too much about time mechanics, it's too much.
Doesn't matter. So anyway, basically it's predestined that Kate is going to wind up in the past and should wind up with Leopold, basically.
With all that money she has.
I don't.
Hey, I mean, she will have money. All she has to do is look up the stock market a little bit or whatever, invest in that.
And that's true.
And then
But-
go gangbusters there.
Yeah, but
She'll potentially have a lot of
she
money.
has this job now.
She can make way more money in the back, though.
think
If
so?
you go back in time with the knowledge of like,
I don't
where-
think she knows anything about that stuff, though.
Yeah, she knows where the portal is. She can just go back.
No, because it closes.
Oh, right. But wait, no, it doesn't make sense. It's still got to be open. I guess you're right. Yeah.
Closes at a specific amount of time, they say, after midnight.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, what happens? I'm guessing Stewart took these, blah, blah, blah. Kate is in the background of the photos. Kate goes to a party announcing her promotion. It is being thrown in the same house as Leo's uncle.
Okay.
Okay. So Leopold in the past, is in a house, and Kate in the future, modern day, is in the same house.
Okay.
Both at parties, just different time periods. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And she's there, and she sees, the picture of,
Family.
Leopold and the family. And she's walking around, and she keeps overhearing people talking about, like, oh, I'm going to get a facelift and all this shit. And I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to imply, that, like, people nowadays are so
Superficial.
superficial, I guess, is what this is trying to do. But in the past, it's also superficial because, like, literally, Leopold has to marry a woman for money, and not for love, which is also pretty superficial. Either way, I don't fucking know what's going on. Either way, she's at this party announcing a promotion. Stewart shows up and tells Kate that she needs to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge to go back in time and wind up with Leopold. And she's like, I don't fucking believe you. That's fucking crazy.
That's a pretty, but for love, a leap of faith is
exactly.
required. Mm-hmm.
And then she keeps hearing her boss downstairs announcing, she's like, Kate, come on, I'm announcing that you're going to have this new managerial role. Come on down and get to the microphone. And so she runs downstairs, and I guess somehow Stewart slips the photos into like her speech packet. And she goes downstairs and she's reading her speech, and then she sees the photos, sees herself, sees Leopold, and she's like, I can't do this. And so she runs away from her job, and she gets in a taxi cab with Stewart and with Charlie, and they drive to the Brooklyn Bridge. She has to climb, and the police show up, and the police are like, "What, lady, get down from there! Don't jump!" And you hear like a clock tower, and it's counting down to 12, and after 12, he's not going to do it. And then she jumps.
Yeah.
And we cut back to the past, and Leopold tells his uncle that he'll marry the richest girl here, which I learned is Kristen Shaw. And she's like, hello, how are you? You don't actually hear her say anything.
But you hear her in her head.
In my head, I hear her. I know what she sounds like. And then, I wrote Karen. Kate.
Karen's here.
Karen's here. Kate arrives just in time.
Imagine she comes. She's like, you didn't serve me the proper hors d'oeuvres.
I'd like to speak to your manager.
Yeah.
Leopold's like, I have an announcement to make. The woman that I will be marrying is... And he looks out and he sees Kate at the end of the hall, and he says, Kate. And she's like, oh. And then they run up and they kiss each other, and the movie ends. And it's the end of the movie.
Well, that's it.
That's it. We don't know what happens after that.
Ooh, probably because it gets rough.
Yeah, I bet it does.
That's very interesting. That seems like such a wild character choice for her to be like, I'm going to now abandon all the stuff I work for this guy.
Yeah, that she knew for like a day and a half.
Like a day and a half.
Hey, man, that's life. That's life.
That's love, though. Yeah, you got to take a chance.
Yeah.
I guess though what's interesting is that she's now being like, okay, clearly sexism is not resolved in the current corporate environment.
Yeah, that's true too.
So it's like, well, might as well fucking enjoy the sexism back in the day, I guess.
Maybe she can make some kind of change.
Maybe she could start a feminist movement or something.
I thought that there would be some kind of opportunity for him, because I felt like he kind of, I mean, obviously he needs to invent the elevator, but like, I do feel like he kind of like adjusted to modern day pretty well. So
yeah, he didn't seem that like, he seemed somewhat fish out of water, but not too much.
So I kind of wish he could have just stayed in the modern day and she could have gotten her job.
Yeah, but they established the whole like elevator shit, and it's like, if elevators break, it's pretty bad.
That's a pretty big deal.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
So even though someone else probably could invent the elevator, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, clearly somebody else did. If you look at historically,
yeah, I guess historically,
a guy named Leopold did not invent the elevator, but it's cute. It's a cute
movie. Yeah, I love a good fish out of water story. So I'm always like a sucker for that. So that got me.
Yeah, reminded me a lot of Thor.
It did remind me a lot of Thor. Yeah. I think Hugh Jackman is charming as ever. He's having a great time with this.
He's doing great.
Kate plays a great corporate woman who's just totally all about the corporate ladder and climbing. And so, I think
it's nice to see 2000s New York.
It's nice to see 2000s New York. It's nice to see them playing off each other quite a bit, especially.
Got good chemistry.
It's honestly, I like that they did not really like each other immediately. Like, I'm
a big fan of that.
In my half, like, she only even just barely recognized that he actually was from the past, like maybe a little bit, or like believes this stuff. Which I think was cool. It's cool to like leave that held back, but then it kind of makes the decision at the end of her being like, I'm jumping off the bridge and going back to the olden times of like,
that's love, man.
That's love, but like,
I do kind of wish there was like an after. I want a little bit of after. I want to see what happened to Darcy. I want to see what happened to Charlie. Like, what happened to Stewart? Did he wind up with that nurse that let him out?
Yeah.
Like I want to know. I want to know what happened to everyone else. But you're right. I think things get pretty fucking hairy after the events of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, because like
you don't have access to same Medicare, you're gonna have to go through women's suffrage again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming up pretty soon in the timeline.
Yep.
You're gonna have to deal with
scarlet fever,
segregation.
Yeah.
The Spanish flu's coming for you.
Yeah.
World War I, baby. Not too far from here. If
World
you
War
live that
II?
long. She might not live to World War II.
Probably not, no.
But World War I, she's probably going to see.
She's probably going to see World War I.
And then she's going to be like, gosh, there's going to be another one after this.
Watch out.
Don't worry about that.
But you know what? That's not what this movie's about, man. The movie's not about time travel, even though it is. movie's not about, male and female, roles, even though it kind of is.
A little bit.
It's a romance movie.
Sure.
romantic
And the olden days back then, a little more romantic, sure. A little bit slower.
A little slower, a little more romantic.
So I totally can understand the appeal of like constantly climbing up this corporate ladder, and the only reason you get to be as high as you are is just because the person has a crush on you.
Yeah.
And it's not really a real role, so it's like, all right, well, might as well go back in time to someone who actually cares about me and like respects me. Sure.
That's
I get
true.
It. Makes
That's
sense.
true. That's
I could see in her circumstance why this would be beneficial at the moment. Now, a year later, I don't know what she'll be feeling.
I don't know what she's doing a year later.
Yeah, I don't know what she's doing a year later.
I want to see a sequel to this movie.
Yeah. Well, they have to time travel back. Because, like, the portal, it sounds like it's going to open again at some point.
Well, I don't know. Stewart says it's... I don't know.
Stewart made it sound like it's a very rare thing, like an eclipse. But I'm like, eclipses happen a couple times in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So you could be like...
Do
let's
some
go back.
math. Put it together.
Yeah.
Maybe even Leopold can do that because he did it. He looked at his equations.
Yeah, I wonder
know?
if time would change. Like if they wait 5 years, whatever, and say the portal opens up again. Will 5 years change? Imagine going back and finding out 9/11 happened.
See, this is yeah,
You're like,
right?
let's go visit my ex, and I want to see what my my brother's up to. And they're like, bro, they both died.
Shit's bad. Yeah,
Bad in New York, bro. She's
yeah,
bad in New
he was
York.
on a plane.
Yeah,
He
let me
got
tell
an acting job. Yeah.
Imagine being like, whoa, there's a lot more security now.
Yeah,
at this.
exactly. Things. Wow. Yeah, now. Kate's the fish out of water still too.
Oh, that'd be crazy. I would love a sequel to this. They're never gonna do that.
No, never.
They never. James Mangold.
He's off doing bigger and better things.
Yeah, he's making. He produced The Greatest Showman. Like whatever, He's having a good
yeah,
time.
bigger and better things.
Bigger and better things.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's a cute movie. I think he's pretty good at making movies that are like pretty solid and inoffensive. Like I don't know.
Yeah, except for Charlie, it's very inoffensive.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
are you offensive? Email us at emailtheotherhalfpodcast.com.
Oh, no.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on Threads, and on Discord. And if you want to listen to our previous episodes, find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it in the show, no matter what it says, even if it takes us back in time. And then we have to be a fish out of water back in the olden days and learn how to adjust to... Regency.
He's apparently going to make a Star Wars movie about the Dawn of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird.
Very excited about that.
Very, very interesting. But yeah, whatever, man. I feel like he's like a Ron Howard sort of guy.
Very much.
He can
so.
kind of make whatever.
Gun
and
for
most of
hire.
the time, it's probably fine.
I'm
I'm honestly surprised he made Logan because Logan is good. No.
What a dig.
No.
What a dig.
This movie's good. I like it. It's fun, but it's not like, oh shit. Like this is
Yeah.
like actually like digging at some like deep seated like thoughts about like age and roles and characters and things like that. It's just
Right.
more like a fun, cute romantic comedy,
Yeah.
And so him doing that and being like, I'm now making this fucking thing. Let's think about how sad Hugh Jackman is.
It's really crazy to see this guy's and Hugh Jackman's really advancement. You look at everyone else's like career. It's like him, Liev Schreiber, but then obviously, women of a certain age do tend to disappear. So Meg Ryan, we don't really see much anymore.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And then the guy who plays Charlie, don't know what the fuck he's
that
doing.
guy's gone.
Yeah, I think
guy's
he
gone.
probably still does television work or whatever.
I bet he's probably a voice actor.
Oh yeah, probably.
I would love it. I gotta look it up real quick to see what he's been doing real quick, and then we can kill this podcast. Okay.
Kill it.
Let's see. Oh man.
What?
Yeah, man. He is indeed a voice actor.
Oh, is he really? What is he doing?
He did. He's an American Dad in 3 episodes. He's in a lot of Robot Chicken.
Oh,
a lot of Robot Chicken.
Not surprised. Wasn't he in? I think he was in the Garfield movie, not the new one, but the live action. Garfield movie.
Garfield.
I think he played John
movie?
Arbuckle. I think.
I don't know. He's in Titanfall too. That's a great game. He's in Family Guy a couple times.
Jesus Christ.
He's been in some like live action, Franklin and Bash. He's one of those like working actors that seems to disappear
He
in
works.
the role.
Yeah.
Because he's been in a lot actually. He was in Heroes as Frack. He played Boba Fett in Star Wars Episode 2 Robot Chicken.
Jesus Christ.
He's all over the place. Yes, you're right. He was in Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties as John Arbuckle.
Yeah, played John Arbuckle. That's where I recognize him from.
But he was also in the Garfield original movie too.
Yeah, it's John Arbuckle.
That's fucking crazy. I did not recognize him at all. He's also in Rat Race.
Yes, he was in Rat Race.
He was also in Road Trip, bro.
I never saw Road Trip.
Oh, he's in Go. Remember we saw Go?
I loved Go.
Yeah, Go was good.
Well, let's go. Let's get out of here. Good night, everybody.